Accra records heavy rain but with minimal destruction compared with last year's. Afghanistan's spy agency confirms killing of Taliban leader Mullah Mansour. Hello, good evening. Welcome to the news on GBC24 and GTV. My name is Shirley Annan. Last year, Accra was hit hard by floods, destroying lives and properties. The rains are in again, but a visit to some of the flood-prone areas showed that the damage caused by the rains is not as severe as what transpired in 2015.
The team did an aerial survey of various communities in Accra, including Achimota, Awoshi, Alajo, Kaneshi, Adabraka, Odona, Teshinungwa, Tema, and Ashaiman. Such areas usually flood when it rains, and therefore the recce was to assess the situation there after last night's rains. Fortunately, none of such areas got flooded this time. However, there were small pools of water in some houses, a situation NADMO officials described as area flooding. The water in those houses is expected to recede in few days. On June 3, 2015, Accra experienced one of the worst cases of flooding in the nation's history. Measures are therefore being put in place to prevent a recurrence. The measures include the silting of major drains and demolition of structures on waterways. The Deputy Minister for the Interior, officials of NADMO and some high-ranking military officers surveyed the areas to find out if last night's rain caused any havoc. The tour was also to assess the effectiveness of measures taken to prevent flooding, especially in the capital. The Deputy Minister for the Interior, Mr. James Agalga, said additional efforts will be made to consolidate such preventive measures.
Even when the rains are not falling, we continue to monitor what is happening, work that is ongoing to ensure that our drains are clear, and when it rains, the water can flow freely.
The Deputy National Coordinator NADMO, Mr. Ebenezer Dosu, said no casualty was recorded in last night's downpour. He, however, urged all not to hesitate to call NADMO in times of distress. Ghana's raining season comes between mid-April and September.
Meanwhile, after last night's downpour, some residents in parts of Accra have had to spend hours scooping water from their homes. The floodwaters also transported garbage and sand from highland areas and deposited them downhill. Residents in some of the affected areas appealed to the AMA to reconstruct or widen their gutters to save them from the perennial flooding.
Floods are common in parts of Accra when it rains heavily. Asylum Down, a suburb of Accra, and areas around the Kwame Nkrumah Circle are a few of the places affected by last night's rains. The big gutter at Asylum Down is choked with rubbish and still making it difficult for water to flow. Last night, the rains flooded most of the houses around and pushed some of the rubbish in the drains onto the streets. The news team caught up with Miss Emanuela Adams, who was still cleaning her shop after last night's floods.
It's the gutter. Like, there's a lot of sand inside, and most rubbish are also inside the gutter. And I will appeal if the assemblyman or the MPs will do something about it, because we are really suffering here.
A market area at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, just behind the GCB Tower, was in a mess. The gutter here was also choked with rubbish. Residents here had a difficult time cleaning their homes. They complained that the annual ritual flooding of the place is gradually driving them out of their homes. The residents accused the assemblyman of the area for failing to rebuild this part of the gutter. The place usually gets flooded.
It used not to flood like that before, but since the circle overhead, the new overhead started, I suspect they probably didn't open up some of the old channels very well. So somehow rubbish and everything, chokes the little channels that they have made, so they place floods. Besides, the gutter at the back seem to be small. There is a big gutter right from Mamobi, Nima, Alaju, coming to this place. And I suspect that it's not large enough to take the water. So the excess water, of course, would flood the low line.
The best thing is to fix it back. This is not a rain. If they should do that for us, I think that will solve the problem.
While they appealed for a long-lasting solution, they also called on the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, to come to their aid.
Has begun exporting petroleum products to Nigeria and other neighboring countries as the oil and gas industry grows. Addressing the Ghanaian community in Tokyo, Japan, President John Mahama said recently Nigeria received 130,000 tons of petroleum products from Ghana. The president said current trends suggest that strategic investment in the petroleum sector was paying off.
As part of his state visit to Japan, President Mahama met the African diplomatic community in Tokyo. President Mahama said by July this year, Ghana would introduce the visa on arrival regime for citizens of other African countries for a 30-day stay. He said going forward, Africa ought to focus on goals 2 and 7 of the Sustainable Development Goals if the continent is to make any good progress on human development indices.
The bottom line for us on the continent and elsewhere is transformative change, integration, trade, and exchange of knowledge amongst our countries. From July this year, Ghana will start implementing a new policy offering our fellow citizens from AU member states the opportunity to obtain visas on arrival in Ghana, with the option to stay for up to 30 days and experience what our country has to offer. Hopeful that this measure with time will stimulate trade investment and serve as an opportunity for our neighbors to experience Ghana's culture while fulfilling the African Union version of greater integration and cooperation among member states. But of course, obtaining visa on arrival does not guarantee automatic entry. There definitely are some persons that no country will want entering their borders. I'm talking of terrorists and people like that.
In meeting with the Ghanaian community in Japan, the president spoke about the petroleum industry. He said Ghana currently has 8.5 weeks of strategic stocks of fuel, stressing that the days of queuing for petrol in Ghana could be forgotten for a long time. He said since 2011, when the country started oil and gas production, Ghanaian companies had earned at least $1.5 billion in contrast. The president said his vision is to make Ghana a petroleum hub in West Africa. President John Mahama mentioned that Ghanaians have been seeing the results of the taxes they pay from ongoing socio-economic infrastructural development. Much of the investment is being made in education, health, roads and other sectors of the economy, which has started yielding dividends. The president indicated that his government has set 2020 as the time to start processing at least half of the nation's cocoa exports. He said, but for the community-day senior high schools currently being constructed in Ghana, thousands of children could not have continued their education due to lack of access.
The medical director of the Ho Regional Hospital, Dr. John Tampuri, says the oxygen processing plant at the hospital is not functioning properly and is therefore appealing to organizations to assist the hospital.
An increase in population brings pressure on social amenities, including the health system, and Ghana is no exception. This phenomenon cuts across urban and rural areas. Though the government has increased its expenditure for healthcare more than threefold in the past couple of decades on hospitals, clinics and other health facilities, medical supplies, for instance, continue to decrease. To complement efforts of the government, the Efum Dakwa Mission International from the US has presented assorted medical materials to the whole regional hospital. The items include walking aids, hand gloves, plastic beds, sanitizers, among others, worth over 10,000 cedis. The founder of TADMI, Daniel Efum Dakwa, said the donation is aimed at easing the pressure on the pockets of the poor.
Our mission is to provide hope to the orphans and care. The needy coming to hospitals is expensive for them. I want to advise that things get to those who they need them. They shouldn't prescribe for them to go and buy from the pharmacy before they bring it.
The medical director of the whole regional hospital, Dr. John Tampuri, said the hospital is in dire need of an oxygen processing plant.
One of the dreams we have is that if any group of people will help us, support us to get an oxygen processing plant that will produce oxygen here and help us serve the needy. These are things that would have been forced to buy. So for us, it's money that has been donated. Money that has been donated to help us take care of the patients. So we obviously appreciate it. And we are hoping that other groups will emulate the example of TADMI.
The chiefs in the area expressed their gratitude to the NGO.
The Metropolitan Archbishop of Accra says humility, selfless service and unity should be the hallmark of a Christian. Delivering a lecture to mark the 80th anniversary of Accra Ridge Church, Most Reverend Charles Palmer Buckle entreated the congregation to build upon the foundations laid by Christ and live exemplary lives.
Founded in 1936, the Accra Ridge Church started as a community church by some British colonial civil servants, most of whom were Anglicans and lived in the Ridge residential area. They wanted a service in English and simpler pattern than it was available at the Holy Trinity Cathedral by then. The church had its first building in 1946 and with continuous growth was later rehabilitated and consecrated in 1968. Marking its 80th anniversary celebration with a lecture, the Metropolitan Archbishop of Accra, Most Reverend Charles Palmer Buckle, reminded the congregation to focus on Jesus Christ and challenged Christians to be abreast with modern trends in technology to win souls for Christ, especially the youth.
The parish priest of the Christ the King Catholic Church, Reverend Father Andrew Campbell, has called on Ghanaians to practice the acts of love and compassion towards one another, especially as the nation prepares towards elections. He said this during the rededication and consecration of the Christ the King building in Accra.
Christ the King Catholic Church was established on the 22nd of May in 1951 by Reverend Father Charles Earp. Initially, the church had a congregation of 600 members, mostly expatriate Catholics and some locals. From 1951 to date, the church has had 12 priests manning it, including Reverend Father Campbell. In a sermon to celebrate the 65th anniversary of the church, the Metropolitan Archbishop of Accra, Most Reverend Charles Gabriel Palmer Buckle, urged Christians to reflect the life of Christ in their daily lives so as to live in peace with one another.
Our lives must conform to what we are immersed in. So when they say you are baptized in the name of Christ, you must become Christ-like always by your word, by your activity, by your joy, your happiness, and all. You have to reconsecrate yourselves and rededicate yourselves as we consecrate the altar and rededicate it so that we are getting deeper and deeper in Christ Jesus.
Reverend Father Andrew Campbell appealed to politicians to conduct their campaign with decorum.
If every Christian says, from now on, I'm not going to take any bribe, I'm not going to be dishonest, I'm going to work a full day's work for a full day's pay. If everybody did that, Ghana overnight would change. We would change, and that's what we need in this country, to be able to live that clean, honest life. An honest day's pay for an honest day's work.
The service to rededicate and also consecrate the church was attended by the Indian High Commissioner to Ghana and other dignitaries.
The Progressive People's Party has started its door-to-door campaign ahead of the November 2016 general elections. The campaign, according to the party, is to identify with the people and also canvass for votes in the upcoming elections.
This is the second time the Progressive People's Party is taking part in an election. In 2012, PPP's presidential candidate Dr. Papakwesi Indum pulled 64,267 popular votes. By this figure, PPP can be described as the third largest political party in Ghana. With the 2016 elections 5 months away, the party has deployed a new strategy with the aim of taking its message to the doorsteps of voters. The campaign, which started in the Ododo constituency in Accra, will be replicated in all the regions. The Greater Accra campaign saw national and regional executives, as well as some parliamentary aspirants, canvassing for votes.
Unless you don't want to recognize the suffering the masses are going through, the disappointment on their faces. If you don't see that, then you are not looking enough to see that there is a groundswell. There's a groundswell to bring change, and the change is the Progressive People's Party.
The party's national chairman, Ni Alute Brew Hammond, appealed to the electorate to give his party the mandate to manage the country.
We are going to occupy the Flagstaff House, and we are going to form a majority in Parliament. At the least, we will hold the balance of power in Parliament.
The party this year is focusing on creating jobs to end unemployment in the country.
The Great Choir of the Agri Memorial AME Zion Church has presented assorted items to inmates of the James Camp Prison in Accra. The items included toiletries, drinks and rice. The choir also held a song ministration session for inmates and prison officers. The president of the Great Agri Choir, Mr. Raphael Aglezo, said they have a charge as a religious organization to help the needy. He also said the visit had made the inmates appreciate the need to be law-abiding. An assistant pastor of the church, Reverend Roger Gajepo, advised the inmates not to be discouraged by their present circumstances. He encouraged them to be positive-minded about life so they could impact positively on society after serving their sentence. In expressing gratitude, the chaplain of the Mamobi Prison Complex, Very Reverend DSP Anthony Brown, suggested to religious and other social organizations to help prison inmates to establish private businesses when they are discharged. He says such support would enable the inmates to properly make use of the technical and vocational skills they acquired while serving their sentence. UNICEF, with support from the Canadian and Netherlands governments, have donated 9 Toyota Hilux and 2 Toyota Land Cruiser vehicles to the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. The vehicles, valued at a cost of $320,000, is to support government's efforts to improve sanitation and access to water in the country.
The issue of sanitation and improved access to water and hygiene remain a huge challenge to Ghana. According to UNICEF, only 15% of the population has access to improved sanitation, and 3 million people do not have access to potable drinking water. Over 3,600 children die each year from diarrhea due to poor water, sanitation and open defecation. Mindful of this, steps have been taken by government to tackle the problem, and the latest to lend a hand is UNICEF with 11 vehicles. The country director of UNICEF, Ms. Susan Namongo Ngongi, was upbeat that the vehicles will go a long way to help promote behavioral change among 2 million people.
Much of the work, of course, that we do is about behavior change and helping communities address their sanitation challenges. So the vehicles, we hope, will really help us reach those our aspirations and our development goals, at least in the area of sanitation.
The Director of Finance and Administration at the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, Mr. Amin Rahman, said the vehicles will be used to support ongoing projects in 4 specific areas. The vehicles will be distributed to the regional coordinating councils, departments and agencies involved in water, sanitation and hygiene wash program.
Welcome back now to some international news. Afghanistan's spy agency has confirmed that Taliban leader Mullah Mansour has been killed after the U.S. targeted him in a drone strike. The The drone targeted his vehicle in a remote area of southwest Pakistan near the Afghan border on Saturday. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said Mansour had posed a continuing imminent threat to U.S. personnel. Mansour assumed the leadership in July 2015, replacing Taliban founder and spiritual head Mullah Muhammad Omar. The Afghan National Security Directorate has come out to give the first official confirmation of the killing of the Taliban leader. Mexico's Foreign Relations Department has ruled out the extradition of convicted drug lord Joaquin Guzman to the United States can go forward. The process can still be appealed, meaning it could be weeks, months, or even longer before the Sinaloa cartel leader may be sent to the U.S., where he is wanted in multiple jurisdictions on charges related to drug trafficking and organized crime. Guzman's lawyers now have 30 days to appeal the decision. Mexico has abolished capital punishment and does not extradite its citizens if they face possible execution. Sports is next. Brecum Chelsea nicked a narrow 1-0 victory over Bicham United in the regional derby at the Golden City Park in Brecum yesterday. That's all in sports. Baden Gospel songstress Inshiratina says God has a purpose for everyone on earth, and it is now that she has found her purpose in Christ. She was a guest on Showbiz.
For everyone on this earth, we've all been sent here for a purpose. So in discovering my purpose as a minstrel, a gospel artist, a minister of the gospel through music, I decided to stick to it. After I came up with the first album, I was like, this is where God wants me to be. Because wonderfully, people were being blessed of my ministry. They were like, where have you been? Where have you been hiding all over? The world is looking for such instruments as you for us to be a blessing. So I decided that if God has given me this wonderful gift, I have to just avail myself, use me. Ehintabia Jesus is a song of protection, telling the whole world that you and I, we all need protection. But the only sure way to have perfect protection is in Jesus. So I was inspired by this scripture, and this is a personal song. It's a song that it came as a result of a personal life experience.
That's all for news on GBC24 and GTV. Thank you for watching.